What do you want, Tank? Wow. You just want to purr at me? I don't know if that's a purr or a growl. Are you growling at me? No, you just purring? Come on, Tanky. Give me a mirror. Mirror.
And the saga continues. God damn these motherfuckers! Sons of bitches! This shit is unreal. It's totally nuts. It is fucking totally crazy what's going on. Okay, I'm sure some of you guys, you have a understanding of crop rotation that in order to have your fields be what's it called? In order for your fields to like grow food very well and to grow nutritious food very well, you have to rotate the crops, because if you always grow the same thing there, then you know when you churn it under, that you like turn the roots of whatever it was that you grew there into the soil, that it doesn't have all the minerals and nutrients and vitamins that the soil needs in order to make the food nutritious, right? And so here we are, we're out here on it's on southwestfarmpress.com, and they're pushing crop rotation for cotton. Now, I'm just gonna get right to it. We are not gonna dilly-dally on what this point is. Approximately 900,000 this is over on EPA.gov. 900,000 gallons of arsenic acid are used each year as a pre-harvest desiccant of cotton. So before they harvest the cotton, they're spraying arsenic on it out in the fields. And then they're pushing crop rotation. So you sprayed arsenic all over the soil, and so the soil's got arsenic all in it. It's a heavy metal. It's obviously very bad for you. I think most people are aware of that arsenic is not good. You don't knowingly take arsenic into your body. Yeah. I don't know. That's just one of these goddamn treacherous shenanigans that these motherfuckers are pulling. Spraying the fields down with arsenic, calling it pesticide, keep the fungus off, and then they're out there, chemtrailing the fusarium, making sure everything's got fungus on it, so they gotta need to spray arsenic everywhere. Moving on. What's the next point in this information journey? This is the information journey right here. We just started out at the bottom side. Yeah, I don't know. They actually they use this same stuff. This it's not actually arsenic acid. It's lead arsenate. They say that they're using on what's this stuff? Food crops. This is over at EPA.gov. Let me see, what are they using? What food crops are they using this stuff on? Lead arsenate, which is like an acid of lead and arsenic. Well, that sounds good. Let's spray that on some food. It's a cattle dip. If your cattle's got ticks, so maybe what the government does is they go out there and they throw ticks all over your farm, out of some airplanes or something, and then when your cattle's come down with ticks, there was like a booming tick population in Maine a couple of years back. I don't know what all foods are grown in Maine, maybe it's apples or something, but Yeah, then to treat your cattle, then because of the tick infestation that the government spread all over the place, by their biological warfare, then you use what they recommend, which is potassium arsenite or sodium arsenite of potassium arsenite insecticide or something, used with no approved alternative. No approved alternatives. The EPA says this is what you got to use. Also, lead arsenite, plant regulator, no registered alternatives on grapefruit, on grapes. These are of course the grapefruit that's being grown in the United States. And all they're doing with this is they're reducing acidity. Plant regulator to reduce acidity. Put arsenic on grapefruit to reduce acidity? I will take the grapefruit acid. That is just fine with me. Skip the arsenic. Put it on grapes. Black measles, crown gall. There's more. Yep, there's more in this EPA.gov article. Next one is, see, apples. Apples foliage application. Now, notice that lead arsenate is, it's inorganic. Organic arsenic is bound up in the organic material. It's bound up in the plant material, so it doesn't, most of it gets carried through your digestive system, so it doesn't wind up, as arsenic metal, in your liver, in your kidney. Instead, it winds up in your poo-poo, so it just gets pushed right out of you. So, the organic stuff isn't such a big deal, even though some of it still winds up as arsenic in your body. But the inorganic arsenic, it's not bound up in anything, so it's not part of like a fibrous plant matter or anything, so it just goes right into your body. And, that's what they're talking about here, is that they're spraying it onto apples. And then, last year, what was that doctor's name? I don't know, some guy who was on Oprah Winfrey show a lot. Dr. Oz. He was saying, there's arsenic in apples at rates or at levels that the EPA is, or the FDA is not admitting. That their tests say that it's one level, but in reality, it's a lot higher level. And there's this disinformation going around out here. You know what? I'll get to that in a minute, I guess. But they're trying to say that, like, oh, it's no big deal. The arsenic is in levels that it shouldn't affect you. Which, if you take it, or if you consume that level of arsenic, just one time, that it won't affect you. You won't die from some tiny little bit of arsenic. But if you take some tiny bit of arsenic and you take it every day for years and years, drinking that same damn apple juice, then eventually it's going to build up to such a level in your system that you're just going to be in constant pain, what they call rheumatoid arthritis. So that's part of the disinformation. There's a bunch of disinfo out here that I'm going to point out to you. And so information, there's knowledge gathering, this knowledge gathering process. Arsenic is a trace element. It is found in several foods, including seafood, poultry, grains, bread, cereal products, mushrooms, and dairy products. Some forms of arsenic are used as medicine. There was somebody, I found this, I don't know if I saved this link, but the person was saying that their dentist in recent years used arsenic on their teeth, which, It's like considered like medieval arsenic, arsenic treating of, dentistry and, it's like Victorian era stuff that they were using arsenic in medicine. And what happens with arsenic, apparently, it will put you in severe pain. But if, I'm sure some people have had this experience, that if you experience severe pain, that eventually you have used up all the pain chemistry in your brain to alert you to the fact that you are experiencing pain in that part of your body. So then it just becomes numb. Like if you get punched in the face so hard, that you experience so much pain, your face will become numb instead of being in pain. But the arsenic has the same effect, that there's a certain point at which you have used up all the pain chemistry in your brain, so you're no longer in pain for the arsenic exposure, that it becomes numb. And so that was one way that they were using it in dentistry in past years, is they would use it to numb tooth by ridiculous overexposure of arsenic, that they would wedge a piece of arsenic in your tooth and you would just let it sit there. But I don't know, the modern medical establishment over at WebMD, it's effective for treating leukemia. Arsenic. It's like, we're gonna kill you by something else. We're gonna kill whatever inside you by killing you, and all at the same time or something. We'll kill whatever's inside you, and we'll kill you. Arsenic treatment for leukemia. Insufficient evidence. They say it could be used for this stuff. This is what they used to use it for, and you might still get away with this if if your patients are not, if they are not, if they're not lawyered up, if they don't have any like friends since youth who are lawyers, because lawyers will just screw you over if you haven't been friends with them for your whole life. Even if they're your own family, lawyers will screw you over. Lawyers are some screwbags. Anyhow, insufficient evidence for food poisoning, insomnia, allergies, anxiety, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, psoriasis, syphilis, asthma, rheumatism, hemorrhoids, cough, itchy skin. So, what they're saying is, you can use it for this stuff if you think you can get away with it. Your patient, especially, if you get them to sign something saying like, that they agree that it's like an experimental procedure or something like that. So if you got somebody who's not a big reader, they signed a bunch of forms in front of you and didn't read any of them, and then, you hand them this form that, it says that, you can do your experimental medicine on them, then you can feed them some arsenic, and nobody's any wiser. In the you put the patient like towards death, but it's not going to come back to bite you in the ass, until your death arrives. Doctors who are doing this, grossly corrupt murdering, is really what they're doing. Doctors, they kill 300,000 Americans per year. It's like across the average career of a doctor, they kill 4 people each doctor. Now, I'm sure some doctors are way more corrupt, and so they kill a lot more people, and then there's some doctors who are a lot better, and so they kill a lot less people. But if you kill like 1 or 2 people by the application of your total junk medicine, that you don't heal anybody, that you're just feeding people pills for the pharmaceutical industry profits, then what's the point in you like doing any of that? And plus you're killing people. You should just quit and then See what these babies are whining about. Where's your whining, baby? One of the babies was under her. Listen, you gotta treat them all nice. She got just barely enough nipples for all these babies. 6 nipples, 6 babies. Oh my goodness. Oh, here's another recent mama. I just figured out this cat over here on the left, Tank. He's a what's this type of cat called? He's a Maine Coon. He, like, when he came out of his mom, he was way bigger than all the rest of these little kittens, and so I named him Tank. And then my friend was over, and he's like, "Look at that cat." He's like, he's 2 cats. And I still hadn't put it together, and then I decided to try to figure out what his cat type is. He's got the same nose as this other cat, this little mama cat that I just showed you in this box, and it turns out that he's a Maine Coon. That I looked up, like, orange nose with like black ring or something. You know, he's got like black around the outside of his nose, the inside is orange, and he looks exactly like all the Maine Coons that they have online. They got like this big bushy tail, they got like shag all over them, and he's got like a mane like a lion, and I don't know, there's some other stuff that makes him look like a Maine Coon, but I'm like 99% sure he's a Maine Coon. They get to be huge. I found some pictures of them. Anyhow, I'm gonna get back to this arsenic stuff. Yeah, treating a certain type of leukemia. Okay, so, you know, the doctors are corrupt. You know, they're going along with using arsenic as medicine. You know, the farmers are going along with spraying arsenic on fields where they're gonna grow food crops. What do you think? We got more ways that arsenic is being fed to us. Arsenic pesticides still legal? Did you know that arsenic pesticides are still legal? This is 2010, August 17th. The EPA actually tried to ban several organic arsenicals in 2006, but then caved to cotton industry lobbying and decided in 2000, because the cotton industry, they love to spray arsenic on the farm fields where they're then gonna crop rotate to grow some foodstuffs. The EPA actually tried to ban the use of yada yada, but they decided in 2009 to continue allowing a pesticide called monosodium methaneseronate on cotton, and all this went down without a peep from the sustainable agricultural community, as far as I'm aware. You know, all this stuff they do, like, you know, without any type of you know, major press. They don't publish to, you know, like, you know, obviously the whole of the press is controlled, so, you know, nobody's out there publishing this information. You know, which brings me to the point of, fuck you if you don't share this video. Yeah, I don't know, they, yeah, you know, it's even more than that. Like, you know, you should, friend 100 people at least to share this video to, you know, on YouTube. You know, it's not enough just that, you know, you share this with like your 2 or 3 friends on YouTube or something. You know, this is information important enough that if you don't, you know, spread it as widely as you can, do this research and print these articles up and hand them out to like your local, your local community. Hand them not only to like the corrupt bureaucrats in your city council, but hand them out to like the general population, so that the general population will put some pressure on these corrupt bureaucrats. But yeah, so if you don't do that, then you're asking for for this arsenic poisoning. But maybe you won't get the arsenic poisoning because you're smart to it, so maybe they'll do you some other way. Okay, arsenic used to be used on foodstuffs directly, and it still is, although this article would lead you to believe that it's not. But really, it still is. So if organic arsenicals are mostly illegal, how about inorganic arsenals, or arsenicals? Organic arsenic is, that's the type of stuff that's like less deadly. Inorganic arsenic, which is still still legal stuff, is the very deadly stuff. Turns out 2 of those are still legal as well. This is what caused me to do this research that led me to the EPA.gov site. Specifically arsenic acid and arsenic pentoxide, plus, of course, the use of roxarsone and arsenical on chickens. In other words, we're still putting plenty of arsenic in our environment, although less than before. Amazing how this makes me wonder what else we don't know. Yada yada. Okay, we're going to the next article here. How to survive arsenic poisoning on ehow.com. They say you gotta get a doctor, but what do they say you gotta get a doctor for is you gotta get a doctor so you can do some chelation. But chelation you can order chelators online. You don't have to get insurance and go to your doctor and have him try to convince you that you don't need chelation, even though you've been eating all this arsenic all these years. But you can buy it right online. It's called EDTA. It's a chelator. You can also eat enough apples, which are if they're not being sprayed with arsenic, which I would guess that most of them are. Maybe you can order some apples from where there's not so much industry, producing arsenic for to spray all the food down. But yeah, I don't know. I've been looking at trying to find foods from Brazil. I don't know if Brazil's foods are so much better. Yeah, maybe I'll make a follow-up video next month when I get some foods from Brazil. But intravenous treatment can be too rough on your body, and some people need to take oral drops instead for a slower but less intrusive treatment. Yeah, so they say you can go to a doctor and you can have a chelation IV injection, but you can also just buy the stuff online, EDTA, or you can eat a lot of apples for pectin and garlic and onions for organosulfur, which the combination of organosulfur and pectin is a chelator, that it carries the heavy metals out of your body, especially your liver and your kidney, whereas a lot of them wind up by passing through your digestive tract. Although I've been reading that you can if you are arsenic exposed by your skin, that you'll take it into your body through your skin. And there's a bunch of stuff that that has arsenic that will make it into your skin. I don't know, but on this page, on the ehow.com article, How to Survive Arsenic Poisoning, they describe the symptoms of arsenic poisoning. This was the best list I found of the symptoms. Abdominal pain, blood and stool. You know, these are like the severe poisoning. Chest pain, constipation, cough, diarrhea, difficulty swallowing, dizziness, eye discomfort and redness, foot pain or ankle pain, foot swelling or leg swelling, headaches, heart palpitations, hip pain, knee pain, low back pain, nasal congestion, nausea or vomiting, neck pain, numbness or tingling in hands, pelvic pain, female, pelvic pain, male, shortness of breath, shoulder pain, sore throat, urinary problems, vision problems, wheezing. And so that's how I came to realize that arsenic, it doesn't make you numb, until it's at some certain level that it has put your nerves in such pain that they don't have the pain reception capacity any longer, that the pain has been too severe, that then you don't feel the pain. Moving on. Next article, arsenic toxicity and arsenic poisoning. What are the symptoms? They say nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, diarrhea, kidney damage, diabetes, which is an epidemic in the United States, liver damage, abnormal heart rhythm, birth defects, spontaneous abortions, cardiovascular disease, reproductive problems, darkening of the skin, lower IQ levels in children. Obviously, that extends to adults, lower IQ. A lot of what I've read about this, it says that it makes you much slower, much less capable of high-level thought. Partial paralysis, blindness, low platelet count, numbness of hands and feet, damage to blood vessels, decreased red blood cell count, decreased white blood cell count, corns or warts on the palms, soles, and torso, sensation of pins and needles in hands and feet, thickening, redness, itching, rash, or swelling of the skin. They say long-term arsenic toxicity and arsenic poisoning increases the risk of several cancers: skin cancer, bladder cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, kidney cancer, liver cancer, navel or nasal passage cancer. In this era, because there's going to be a whole freaking era that we're going to be exposed to this Fukushima nuke spew toxicity, and even then, whatever the next nuke spew situation's gonna be, because they're gonna keep, they said they're gonna, over 10 years, decommission Fukushima nuclear power plant. Then they said it's gonna be 40 years. If they're gonna take 40 years to do anything about that fucking mess, what the fuck is that going to say about, humanity? That they're going to get this 90% population reduction that, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds have been urging. And the British royal family, and, whatever else, a bunch of, murderous, fucking, old world, fucking, skullduggerous, digging skulls, sons of bitches, whatever amount of, nuclear toxicity that, this generation of, murder pushers is gonna put on us. The light side of that, what's is what it's going to mean to their beings. These people who are pushing murder because they think it's what's going to make them powerful. And for a while, it's going to make them powerful. But ultimately, in every generation that does this, that they chase the power of mass murdering people, by bureaucracy and chemistry and biological warfare and the mass murderous militancy of military service, the British royal family's doing, learning how to fly Apache helicopters and whatnot. Where does it lead them all? John Lackland, he's a great example. Every U.S. president is able to trace their ancestry to John Lackland, who was the British king who was forced to sign the Magna Carta by the semi-powerful barons of that day. And, then he went on to fight them further. He was out on a war against the barons when he died of shitting himself. He shit himself to death. Dysentery. And that's what they call the shitting yourself to death. That the royals do so often. Because then, who's another royal that shit themselves to death? Dude's name, Thomas Jefferson. He's obviously one of the U.S. presidents. He was the president who kicked off the native murder. The native murder had actually been ongoing since the early colonization. Even the Pilgrims, even Columbus, every frickin' European that set foot in in America, North America, South America, wherever. They all came over here with a mission to murder the natives. They had been doing it in Africa and India and wherever there was natives. They all came, they all, colonized the earth. Colony of what? They're cultivating disease. They're spreading disease all the fuck over the place. And, that's exactly what they did. And they very literally, did this biological warfare on... that's Old Testament, and then Old Testament, what said of these people of the Old Testament, how did they all die? They all died, all these people that did all that biological warfare, they died in, some treacherous manner, some obvious treachery, but, people are able to be, bought towards it and sworn towards it. They swear themselves to it because they think it's powerful. They think, this mass murder is what's gonna get them on, get them, with, because what does the Bible say about God? The Bible says God's a mass murderer, so how do you make yourself godlike? Is you gotta mass murder as good as God does, then God's gonna take you under his wing for a little while before he mass murders you, ha ha ha! I don't know, so, there's this, skin absorption. This is the one about skin absorption on toxicwatersolution.com. Skin absorption, dermal absorption, showering, and hand washing can be important. Exposure, yada yada yada. If your water has toxicity in it, they say, there's this natural arsenic toxicity in a lot of places. Not really. Even if it's even if it's organic, the difference between organic and inorganic. I was saying earlier, even if it's organic arsenic, who's to say that that's naturally built up in some places? How do we know that they didn't? The organic arsenic. It's not just the arsenic that was used in yesteryear to murder some other group of people that was living there, the Native Americans or wherever the food's being grown now, that it's built up in the soil from past generations where these murderous, people used arsenic, and maybe, they got it from the food that, they grew the inorganic arsenic, the metal arsenic into food, so then it was organic arsenic, and then they, that got put back down into the soil. So at some point, the arsenic went from inorganic to organic, then it got grown into food, and then it got spread back out into the fields. And how does it get built up in one area, that it's in, that area, in such a high, density as compared to other areas. I'm pretty sure, like, the whole of the world, I'm not even pretty sure, I know this for certain, but the whole of the world, like the Earth's crust, it all came from magma. The magma is a liquid, it's like the mixed, metallic, like all the metals that are in the Earth's crust, they're all in the boiling magma, which, like the law of diffusion says, it's going to be diffuse all throughout all that stuff, that because it's in a liquid, that stuff, the longer it boils, the more spread out everything gets, and, it comes to an even consistency that, every bit of the liquid, liquid molten organic metals boiling in the Earth's, in the Earth's, core, that they, do a chime check here. Okay, I got plenty of time. That they do, that they're like at an even consistency. So then, it comes to the surface, it gets cooled by water, turns into this solid crust, and then they're in an even consistency in the solid crust until they get broken down, and then, they might start to separate into like, heavy and heavy and lighter stuff by, like, I don't know, iron being like a very light metal, whereas like uranium on the other end of the spectrum is very heavy metal, and, by the, what would it be, like the centrifugal process, by the gravity of Earth, that they begin to become separated from light to heavy, but the Earth is not so totally effective a centrifuge at this far distant place from the core. Like right at the core, it's a very robust centrifugal process going on there. But at this distance from the core, it's not so robust a centrifugal process, and so there's other actions, particularly the mechanical, like, the mechanical separation, that, there's just stuff in the way, so it's not so easy for the heavy stuff to fall towards, the heavier gravity. And so, the stuff, even though it starts to get broken down by, water running across the Earth's crust, that it doesn't get so separated that, the arsenic all winds up in one place. So how did the arsenic all wind up in one place, at some distant place in the past where, people are now growing food? That it become either organic or inorganic arsenic all built up in that one place. Is it got refined, and then it got distributed in that one area. It got condensed to that area by humanity. People refined it, used it to kill other people in that area, and now it's built up in that area. And like the history of man, it dates 30,000 years going back, but there's only a really good record of it for about the past 8,000 years. That the Mahabharata is like the earliest of what it is that people have written down now that says what was going on with man 8,000 years ago. And then as time goes on, the record gets better and better. That like 5,000 years ago, there's a bunch that's known, and there's a lot more that's recorded, and then in the past 2,000 years, and then even more the past 1,000 years, there's a bigger and bigger amount of information that's being passed down from generation to generation. It used to be for a long time, it was just amongst the priest class, that only the priests had any information on what it was that history was. There was like 2 years beyond the death of Jesus that the commoners did not have access to the Bible. that the Bible was hidden from people right up to about 200 AD, Anno Domini, after dominance. Even 200 years after the dominance of the Roman Empire, Jesus, as a treacherous, Roman agent, who was, he was a world traveler. He did a lot of traveling in, toward India, in India. That was recorded, Jesus' travels in India. There's evidence to show that he was actually a descendant of Tiberius Caesar, who was the emperor when Jesus was born. He was the Roman emperor, and then who was dominating Jerusalem at that time? The Romans. The Romans had invaded, they took over Jerusalem, and so then Jerusalem was like the empire mandate of Palestine. It was like the same thing that they have going on there right now, is that the empire rules the area, that they buy the politicians, they impose the rules, they abuse them for whatever it is that they can get out of them, and they breed over there, to some slight degree, especially amongst the others that they know are already they're different genetic ancestry. Like right now in Jerusalem or in Palestine, what's now being called Israel, but for years it was a British mandate of Palestine. Back in those days it was being called Jerusalem, or Jerusalem was like a city in that area. I don't know, I guess they were calling it Israel after they by warfare murdered the Gentiles that were there, as the Bible records. Moses sending Joshua on a mission, into the promised land. But you know what? Moses flipped the script. He convinced all of these Jewish people that were living in Egypt, come on, we're going on the road to the promised land. Borrow as much gold from these Egyptian people as you can, and then we're going to hit the road. And then when they went out on the road, that they stole all this gold from Egypt. That Moses, the son or the adopted son of Pharaoh, that he urges the Jewish people to go out on this treacherous mission, to steal the gold from Egypt, by moving after they borrowed gold. That then he promised them all death. He promised them land. He's like, come on, we're going on a wonderful journey to a new land. It's your promised land. I'm promising you land, and we're going to get it. And then they get out on the road, and they start going to this land that Moses is claiming is their promised land. But then he says, not any of you will enter the promised land. You are all going to die out here on the road in the wilderness. And that's what he did. He kept them out on the road in the wilderness for 40 years. He took a census and made sure that every one of them who had left Egypt with him was dead. And, then he sent Joshua, who... he was apparently the only survivor of the whole generation, and he was a little boy when they got on the road. And he turned him into a military leader, and he sent them on a murder mission. He sent them out there to mass murder Gentiles. Anyhow, let's get back to the issue of arsenic toxicity. High dose, short-term exposure to arsenic will cause death. And we're gonna cover a story in a moment about that. About okay, yeah, these are the people talking about arsenic in water, saying that They're saying not to inhale arsenic. They're also saying don't ingest it. Don't eat it. Okay, so going on to the next article. Could you have arsenic poisoning? And EcoWellnessStore.com says 45% higher prostate cancer, 220% higher in heart attacks, 40 times higher leukemia in children. And they record all these deaths as being just heart attack. And they don't explore the fact that people are so damaged with arsenic, that they should probably be listing a lot of these heart attack deaths, which is like the number 2 or number 1 cause, I don't know, cancer and heart attack or heart disease. They're being like flipped in recent years that like cancer was catching up with heart disease as a number 1 killer of man, but anyhow, they're not diagnosing this as being arsenic poisoning, which is what it really is. Do you experience a tight, overly full, upset stomach or abdominal pain soon after eating, even though you might not have overate? Yada yada yada. Do you wake up with a morning sore throat, problems concentrating, and that gets back to they're saying that low IQ in children, but yeah, it's not just in children, it's anybody who gets so toxified with arsenic, that they will have a low IQ, that you'll have problems concentrating, that you won't be able to think well. Do you notice white bands at the tips of your fingernails? Oh, I got a little bit of arsenic poisoning. You know what? Oh, look. Oh, is that on my finger? Or is that... Okay, yeah, that was just a little piece of dust on my finger. Sometimes people that have like white, I got some dirt under my finger. Oh, okay, there it is. There's one. It's not just at like the tops of your fingers, right up here, or the top of the nail, but sometimes you'll have like these little white spots, like that, in the fingernail. That means that like when that part of your fingernail was growing, you ate something that had this toxin in it, so and then it moves out to like the end of your fingernail. They say like if you have it like this though, where it's like this really strong white band. Let me find a different way, different angle. Then you're being exposed to arsenic at the tip of your finger right there. Is that the same one? No, this is the one. I'm gonna try to get under this better lighting. Yeah, so I don't know, like that. They say that it's also a characteristic of like malnutrition to have these little white spots in your fingernail. There's certain nutrition that you're lacking, some minerals, but these white bands at like the top of your nails or at the bottom of your fingernails. Yeah, at the bottom of your fingernails. So like closer to your heart, or like the bottom of your fingernails being like closer to your hand, than the tip of your fingernail. They are one way that you can detect that you are experiencing arsenic poisoning. This right here also is characteristic of arsenic poisoning, although this can also be caused by microwave. That's either arsenic poisoning, or it could be that you're being shot with microwave in your brain. That they like shake your brain to a degree that you're unable to focus with microwave. That microwave can be shot through walls, can be shot through ceiling, it can be shot through pretty much everything but metal. When microwave hits metal, it throws an arc. So if you're wearing like a tinfoil hat or something, and the government's microwaving your brain, then there's gonna be like some type of arc being tossed off of whatever metal. If they're hitting it with a microwave strong enough to try to to get through that metal, that it's gonna shake the metal, that the metal will throw an arc. You can punch through metal with microwaves strong enough, especially if you have two microwaves and you cross them. That's what's called a plasma weapon. Sometimes it's called a scalar weapon. Sometimes it's called a Tesla howitzer. But that's the possibility for to cross microwave to punch holes through stuff. Yeah, like they can punch holes through like it depends on like the power of the microwave. What determines the power of the microwave would be like the amount of metals that go into it. So, like the metal of the coil, if it's like a really big heavy coil made with like some really big thick wire, that the power can be crazy damaging, that it can like punch holes through stuff. The Russians, they had that technology back in like the 50s, but with this ever-moving empire, the top dominant of the empire always is he's always someplace else, and from someplace else, and the emperor, he seems to be abusing regenerative medicine to extend his life, that he might have been alive for 30, maybe 40,000 years. We don't even know how old this guy is, that he's still here abusing humanity. I'm gonna load a picture real quick. This I was looking at this image that shows these cave paintings, and it's a really extensive study. I forget if this one's 25,000 or 30,000 years old, but they're saying that this is a blanket on the back of a horse, and it's an engraving. It's not so that's why they drew it out, and they drew out the engraving that was on. It's in this wall. It's like one of these things where there's like an engraving in a wall, and that's the shape of it. It's the shape of a horse with a blanket on it, and there's more here though. And this stuff is 30,000 years old. Some of this stuff is 25,000 years old. This one right here. Let me think. They're saying that these are 25,000 years old. Chauvet, it's a place in France. And, they're like, oh, look how amazing this guy's ability to draw, animal form was, and, how accurate, like, all the sizes are, and, how good his shading. His ability to shade animal drawings and whatnot. And there's like this picture of a bear, and they were saying like, it seems that this guy spent some time up close and personal with bears, because of his ability to draw the emotion in a bear's face. But I look at these drawings and I'm like, obviously, it's not because this guy spent a lot of time, talking to bears, from a 2-foot distance or something, and maybe he has, maybe he had bears in cages so he can draw them or something like that. But, what this type of drawing tells me about the guy who did it is that he studied drawing, that he spent a long time studying drawing. Now, maybe somebody can learn to draw like this. Somebody teaches them, that they can learn to draw like this in a year or something like that. But what if this guy spent 20,000 years abusing regenerative medicine to extend his life, to restore his youth, and it took him 25,000 years to learn how to draw. So this so very good, that he was drawing these paintings, or doing these paintings on cave walls and whatnot. Would that be so impressive? Is it as impressive as that he's sitting face to face with bears to learn bear emotion? No. Obviously it's not so impressive that the guy be able to learn how to draw like this across 20,000 years. Carve up the whole face of Earth. Look how tall this cat is. Yeah. Anyhow, moving on. We're going to the... Or did I even finish this? What do you get from arsenic exposure? Exposure to arsenic occurs mostly... Oh, what do you get arsenic exposure from? Exposure to arsenic occurs mostly in the workplace, near hazardous waste sites, or in areas with high natural levels. Unless your food industry is spraying the fields down with arsenic and then growing food there. And arsenic poisoning symptoms are among the most common health problem or health complaints: fatigue, headaches, dry eyes, confusion, mostly described as brain fog, ringing in the ears, vision changes, especially when blurring comes and goes. Arsenic poisoning is also connected with warts or hyperkeratosis, noticeably overly sensitive to smells, noises, tastes, burning, tingling, or sensation of pins and needles, neuropathy, generally in hands, feet, but can be in other parts of the body, darkening of the skin, hyperpigmentation, birth defects and spontaneous abortions, liver damage, malignancy, apparently of cancer. Changes to arsenic regulation. Arsenic poisoning is of particular interest to Utah residents. The Smithsonian NASA Astrophysics Data System published an abstract article written Arsenic in Utah. In 2001, new research resulted in a change to the national regulations for the amount of arsenic allowed in drinking water. The only arsenic study in the United States was conducted in Malad County, Utah. The study showed an association between arsenic, which ranged from 12 parts per billion to 120 parts per billion in the drinking water, and high rates of some diseases. The study found male death rates from hypertensive heart disease. And they still call it heart disease when really it's arsenic poisoning. Anyhow, 45% higher prostate cancer, 220% higher heart attacks, 40 times higher leukemia in children. Okay, so moving on, we're going to Wikipedia.org, arsenic poisoning. Arsenic poisoning is a medical condition caused by elevated levels of the element arsenic. The dominant basis of arsenic poisoning is from groundwater. Yeah, right. Even though, nobody's done any study to determine what is the major cause of arsenic poisoning. And they cite no study here. If they were citing a study, there'd be a link here. Is a medical condition caused by elevated levels of the element arsenic. Okay, that's linked, because, there's something backing that information. But then they say, the dominant basis of arsenic poisoning is from groundwater groundwater that naturally contains high concentrations of arsenic. Notice no link. Nothing to say, that this study has been done, and this is why so many people are so arsenic poisoned. Even though it's being used in medicine, it's being used in agriculture, as a pesticide. It's called beneficial use by the EPA to spread it on farm fields, which is something that I haven't even gotten to yet. Beneficial use of coal ash, which is arsenic contaminated, which the EPA approved that the coal industry sell their arsenic, lead, chromium, what's the other one? Mercury tainted coal ash to the agricultural industry so that they can spread it on farm fields. For what purpose? No purpose at all. It's not a fertilizer, it's not a pesticide, it's not anything of... it's just a poison. But they're selling it to the agricultural industry and they're calling it beneficial use. Anyhow, yeah, so, that's Wikipedia, suppose, great encyclopedia, spouting this as the second line of the article, making no evidentiary documentation of this claim that it's because of the groundwater, and, everybody has got some level of arsenic poisoning, yet the groundwater is only so ridiculously tainted in, some very few places, and even there, it's not on a level where it'll build up in your body, unless, you live, some particular place in, like in Utah, you gotta live in some, particular place in Utah, you gotta be on well water, that your water is tainted, that it's at like 120 parts per billion, that it's going to start to build up in your body. But, at the 12 parts per billion, it won't build up in your body so much. And, you might even be able to process that all out of your body if you eat enough apples and onions. But, that's, it doesn't explain how it is that the whole of America became so arsenic tainted, that the rates of heart disease and cancer spiked. And random pain that they're calling rheumatoid arthritis, or, what's another one that they're calling random pain? Fibromyalgia. They're saying like, oh, you got random pain, then, you're just incurable. It's all in your head. Forget about it. You just gotta endure it. We won't even give you any pain, anything to dull your pain, with your fibromyalgia, diagnosis. That's pain to just be endured because it's just in your head. Exposure modalities, drinking water. Oh yeah, that's another thing that's is booming. Fibromyalgia. Another thing that's booming is rheumatoid arthritis. Alzheimer's is another thing. Foggy thinking, booming. All of this stuff booming, and the doctors are all helpless for. For affording people any type of, medical treatment for arsenic poisoning. Chronic arsenic poisoning results from drinking contaminated well water over a long period of time. Oh, is that the only thing that causes chronic arsenic poisoning, is drinking contaminated well water? Many aquifers, this is according to Wikipedia, many aquifers contain high concentration of arsenic salts. How did the wells get tainted with arsenic? Oh, it's just salt of arsenic at the bottom of the wells, of course. Totally ridiculous. And then there's like 20,000 years of human civilization, the knowledge of which totally suppressed that, until just recently, there's no educational discussion of all the evidence that human civilization dates to 30,000 years ago, meaning like stone tools, blankets on horses, all that stuff that, there's 20,000 years of suppression of there having been all this stuff over and over again, that, it's been erased from history by the murderous establishment that, there's one guy who tricks everybody else into chasing power and to winding themselves up so very easily murdered because of their being so murderous, and they're being totally incapable of murdering him, the top dominant, the top dominant murderer. Got a cat Fussing because he's behind a wall. Well, how'd you get back there, silly? Come on. You want to come out of there or what? You just want to complain? That was him saying, thank you. Thank you. Oh, my cats speak English. It's crazy. With some other stuff that they said, I don't know, one of my cats, she's good at saying, okay, okay. Bunch of English-speaking cats here. Anyhow, that's because I say it to them all the time. I'm like, oh, you're okay. Occupational exposures. Industries that use organic arsenic in its compounds include wood preservation, glass production, non-ferrous metal alloys, and electronic semiconductor manufacturing. Inorganic arsenic is also found in coke oven emissions associated with the smelter industry. In addition to its presence as a poison for centuries, arsenic was used medicinally. It's in history of arsenic. I don't think that they mentioned that they're still using it to treat leukemia. Notable cases: arsenic poisoning, accidental or deliberate, has been implicated in the illness and death of a number of prominent people throughout history. Arsenic poisoning is one way that the most murders people. George III of Britain, Napoleon, Charles Francis Hall, bunch of Huo Yuan Jia, a bunch of no more! You guys are not allowed to have any more babies, you better stop it. A bunch of royals got arsenic murdered. Emperor Guangzhou. One of the emperors got mercury poisoned to death. What did that guy do? He just before he got mercury poisoned to death by his, what were they calling them? Alchemists. You know, these people that claim to know how to turn common metals into gold. You know, which is actually, you know, I was taught in chemistry that it's impossible to change one type of material into another type of material, as far as like minerals. But in reality, it really is. It's possible to do that, and it's a process that goes on by pressure, either holding stuff together really hard or by smashing stuff really hard, like the sun. You know, that's one thing, that it's smashing stuff really hard, so it's, you know, it's breaking stuff apart. But then when a sun burns out, that final pressure wave forces a bunch of stuff together, and so it causes there to be metals, to be metals stronger than, or more dense than iron. Every metal in the whole universe that's more dense than iron is the result of a supernova, a sun exploding. Or, you know, it could be the result of like a human, you know, manipulation. You know, that people could put metal under pressure, you know, in the presence of what will bind to that metal. Give 'em hell. I gotta grind up some Queen Anne's lace so my cats don't get pregnant again. I cannot have any more kitten babies here. Treatment, chelation. Oh, you gotta go to your doctor so he can do a blood test. You know what they do is they do the blood test after the arsenic is already mostly out of your blood, because once it goes into your belly, because you eat it in like your apple juice or your grapes or your grapefruit or whatever, and then it's in your belly, and then it gets into your stomach, into your stomach lining. It goes into your bloodstream, and then it's all through your blood. That's after a strong dose of it. But then it gets into your kidney and your liver, and it just hangs out in there. But it's not so strong in your blood anymore. So when they test your blood, it doesn't seem like you're so arsenic toxified. But then it's been in your body so long, and it's in your tissues. It's in your brain tissue, so strong that it's not in your blood, but it's in all your tissues, and so you're ridiculously arsenic toxified. But because your blood doesn't have it, they're telling you that you're not arsenic toxified. So don't worry about chelation. That's what the doctors do. Is the doctors, they just warn you off of chelation, regardless of what the arsenic tissue accumulation is, and that's what they got to do in order to determine whether your tissues have a high density of arsenic in them. Is they gotta get your tissue, they gotta test your tissue for the arsenic accumulation, not test your blood for what your blood was toxified with over a short period if you just ate the arsenic. Plus the dosage that they put into your body, a little bit at a time, through the apple juice and the grapes and the grapefruit and the whatever all it is that they spray the arsenic on the cotton, and then they rotate the crop, and then whatever crop, the corn or the whatever they're growing there, the soil it's got all that arsenic in it. The sun dries out the soil at some point in the growing process. The soil gets stirred up by the wind, so there's this dust of soil that's being spread onto the plants. And then, maybe you eat some of this food without washing it, or, whoever it is that processes your food, they don't wash it. And so you get this arsenic in your sugar. Especially, that's what I'm noticing that this arsenic is in. It's all the chocolate sugar goods, and, just sugar in general. And, so I don't know. They get this arsenic in your food, and then you go to your doctor, but in your food it's only so little. So when your doctor tests your blood, he'll say like, oh, you don't have a high dosage, but arsenic accumulates. So if you just keep taking in a little bit of arsenic, a little bit of arsenic, a little bit of arsenic, it's accumulating and accumulating and accumulating in your liver, in your kidney, in your brain, in all your tissues, and then you're never doing any type of dedicated chelation to get all that toxic buildup out. And when you go to the doctor, he tests just your blood to tell you don't have any type of severe toxic poisoning of arsenic, so don't even worry about it. But in reality, you got arsenic throughout your whole body from this low dose, long term accumulation by the low dose exposure that's in the food and in I would have to look it up, but I'm gonna claim right now it's in like the what do they call these things, the cosmetics, and I'll do that search right now, arsenic cosmetics. Of course, because it's in it's in the products, or it's in like the the derivatives of the cosmetics, which is like what would be food goods if people ate them. Arsenic face powder, aqua tofana, history of cosmetics. Cosmetics in Canada contain heavy metals. May 16th, 2011. What would make you think that it's only in Canada? Of course, the globally, the Chinese cosmetics, of course, the Chinese, they're selling like lead-painted toys to children in the U.S. So, of course they're going to toxify the stuff with arsenic. Anyhow, yeah, Alright, so we're moving on. We're going to the next article, which is New Sweden, Maine, Arsenic. There's a place in Arsenic where a bunch of Swedish people settled way back in the day, and recently somebody in there, or let me see, it was in 2003, one of the church people toxified a church service so bad with arsenic that as of 2008, the people that got toxined with that arsenic, they're still having pain from the toxin of the arsenic. Most of the time, there's a dull ache in Dale Anderson's legs. Those are the good days. On other days, the throbbing pain in his legs and feet makes it difficult to walk more than short distances. And even then, he sometimes stumbles as if he's drunk. There's neuropathy in his hands as well. So he's got pain in his legs, he's got numbness in his hands. You know, why didn't he ever get chelated? You know, that he apparently never went to a doctor who, you know, decided to share with him the good news of chelation. So this was a short-term exposure, but you know, this it speaks to, you know, the accumulation that, you know, if you do a short-term heavy dose, that it will still be in your body years later. You know, it will so jam up your system that your body, you know, it won't even be able to process the rest of what's in your tissue out. So, you know, your liver will be working overtime to get that stuff out of your body, but, you know, it won't even be able to move it because of how much is in your liver. Your liver will have such a slow flow that your stomach will just be constantly bound up. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I started to experience from like every bit of food that I buy from the store. Yeah, like crackers. Let me think. Anything with sugar in it. Yeah, any type of you know, processed sugar. And I thought for a long time that brown sugar was like, you know, actual brown sugar, but it's not. It's white sugar that they add molasses into now. You know, they're calling it brown sugar in the stores, but it's not really brown sugar. It's refined, processed white sugar that, you know, they grew in the arsenic tainted fields, and then they're adding some molasses to it, so they're calling it brown sugar, but it's not really brown sugar. Yeah, brown sugar is just, you know, it's raw sugar. You know, that they don't process it, they don't bleach it, and you know, they don't get all the nutrients out of it. And you know what they're doing with like the brown sugar now that they're labeling as brown sugar, that's not really brown sugar. It's like death brown sugar. Yeah, they it's this sugar with the arsenic in it, and how you know it is if you put enough of it in your mouth, you'll have an immediate pain in your tooth. Yeah, it'll be a fierce pain. It'll be like somebody banged on your tooth with a hammer. You know, that's how bad it is. That's how, you know, how the pain hits your face. And you know, that's what got me to decide to go out and do this search for, like, you know, that the sugar that I've been buying. You know, that I bought a bunch of sugar and I haven't used it. You know, because how bad it put my teeth in pain. You know, but it's this store-bought brown sugar from this area. You know, what I'm going to try next month, that, you know, and this is what inspired all of this research, is organic raw sugar from Brazil. I did a search, I found, let me think, I did a search for, like, organic raw sugar on Google, or organic sugar, and I came up with like some source for Rapunzel, which is they source their sugar from Brazil, so you know, it's going to be less nuke tainted, hopefully, because it's in the southern hemisphere, and because it's organic, hopefully they didn't, farm it where there was already some type of arsenic poisoning. They didn't like poison the soil with arsenic before, they grew the sugar there. But hopefully, so hopefully it will be like nuke less, not completely nuke free, but less nuke, and it'll be less arsenic, hopefully. But I'm not going to be able to buy it until next month because I'm down to like $10, and this stuff costs like $20 for a little bit of it. Anyhow, we're going to move on to the next article here. Coal ash facts provides information facts about coal ash. This is like the information sheet that the coal ash industry, the people who sell coal ash to the farmers so that they'll put it on fields where they're going to grow our food. This is what they say about coal ash. Look how small this stuff is. It's you can't really even read it. That's like, those are some clear lettering. But if you have like any type of dysfunction with like your reading, then you won't be able to, with your eyesight, you won't be able to read this. Because they made it so very small, the writing. But, yeah, I don't know, it's saying like arsenic, barium, boron, cadmium, yada yada yada. What they don't do here is the arsenic. They don't distinguish between inorganic and organic. And they say that like the organic arsenic is a lot less damaging than the inorganic because it's bound up in stuff that will keep it from going into your system. And they try to say that like, oh, it's only a little bit more in coal ash than it is in soil. So they're like, oh, so we can, add even more arsenic into the soil, and, it's no big deal, because there was some arsenic there before. I don't know, barium's not good. Cadmium, copper, lead, mercury, selenium. So they're like, I don't know, they're enriching the soil with all of this very bad stuff, which is, they claim on this coalashfacts.org, they're claiming it's not so bad. You can enrich the soil with arsenic and mercury and lead, and nobody's gonna live any worse for it. They might live a lot shorter, but they'll be in just as much pain as if we just sent the military out there to murder them all by brutal blunt force trauma. Yeah, I don't know. This is a funny thing that happens with this is you would think when you click this that it's going to load the same chart, right? But it doesn't. Loads this, which doesn't really scroll. If you scroll it, it doesn't really go anywhere. And it lists some of the same stuff, but then you're left to think like typical values for selected elements as contained in soils and fly ash. And you're like, what the hell am I reading about here? And they got you off of this page where they're claiming that coal ash is good for you and you should add it to your farm fields. Call it beneficial use. Yeah, I'm gonna try to find beneficial. Socially beneficial. Environmentally and socially beneficial coal ash, arsenic, mercury, and lead. Oh, okay, yeah, of course. Just make sure that's no place else on here. Okay. Well, 43%. In 2007, the United States produced 131 million tons of coal combustion products, while 43% were used beneficially. So 43% of 131 million tons of coal ash in 1 year got dumped onto food fields, got dumped into cul-de-sacs, onto the side of roadways, got dumped into the food supply, and into the water, into what gets washed into the water table. 43% of 131 million tons was it. Let's take 131 million, just divide it in half, and then take a little bit less than that. So what's that come out to? It's like 65 million, a little bit less than 65 million. So let's call it like 55 million or something. 55 million tons of coal combustion products, arsenic, mercury, and lead, were beneficially used, which means that they were spread as dust onto roadways and farm fields. Totally ridiculous. You know what? I don't think that I found what it was that, I don't know, let's see, farm coal ash beneficial use. I read this a long time ago about the farm fields being tainted under the Obama EPA with coal ash. Your food could be tainted with toxic coal ash on Rolldale.com. I need some food. Residue from coal-fired power plants is considered a pollutant, yet the EPA wants it used on crop fields. I don't know if it's gonna show me when this article was written on the first page. That was page 2. When it comes to coal ash, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is having a bit of an identity crisis. One part of the agency wants the heavy metal-laced byproduct of burning coal to be treated as hazardous waste. But others in the agency and in the United States Department of Agriculture want farmers to grow your salad in it. EPA is not a homogeneous organization, says Jeff Rook, Executive Director of Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility. It is a complex organization where the right often does not know or opposes what the left is doing. In this case, the solid waste arm of EPA is pushing for maximum reuse of coal ash, while the EPA's water, toxic substances, and health staff are excluded from the decision. And that's what. Okay, apparently this article is from Oh no, I was gonna say 2008, but again, they do not have the date on here, which is so ridiculously not good, because they're presenting this as if this might happen. EPA is mulling this over, but in reality, this did happen in 2009. The EPA approved coal ash for beneficial use to be spread on farm fields. The American Coal Ash Association, which promotes beneficial uses for coal combustion products, said the United States in 2007 produced 131 million tons. I'm just guessing because I didn't load the page yet. New study finds that state regulations regarding coal ash disposal are inadequate to protect public health and drinking water supplies for nearby communities. That's as of 2011. There are currently near 700 coal ash ponds and hundreds of coal ash landfills in the U.S., wrecking the water supply. 98% of all coal ash generated nationally. Let me see, state of failure, how states fail to protect our public health and drinking water from coal ash. A review of state regulations in 37 states, which together comprise over 98% of all coal ash generated nationally. The study highlights the lack of state-based regulations for coal ash disposal and points to the 12 worst states when it comes to coal ash dumping. Alabama, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, South Carolina, and Virginia. All the states where people are not so aggressively political, that people don't get involved in the political process, and make demands, demand direct democratic reform of their governments. They are just murdering them with coal ash. There are currently nearly 700 coal ash ponds and hundreds of coal ash landfills in the U.S., most of which operate without adequate liners and water quality monitoring. Reading this just made me remember is that how greatly in support of the coal industry Alex Jones is. He's like, oh yeah, murder us with arsenic. Don't do it with don't do it by BPA. I want to maintain my humanity, or maintain my manliness. There are currently 700 coal ash ponds, hundreds of coal ash landfills in the U.S. Oh, okay, I already read that. Let me see, we're going to skip down to two bills currently moving through the House seek to undermine any efforts by the EPA to set federal enforceable safeguards for coal ash disposal. Both bills require EPA to let the states and the states alone decide how to regulate ash, with little federal oversight. It doesn't really require federal oversight. What it requires is that all the lawyers not be so mass murderous. But the lawyers are mass murderous. The judges are mass murderous. So, we're not able to sue these people who have made the whole of America arsenic dump ground. That's what they did. They made the whole of America into an arsenic dump ground, that they're mass murdering the whole of America. And, we're not able to sue these people because they own the courts. The fucking Rothschilds and Rothschilds, or Rockefellers. Those goddamn motherfucking bitches. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next article. You see, coal ash facts provide important facts about coal ash industry. Okay, that's the one where they're trying to say coal ash is good for you. Eat more. Eat more. We'll make more. We'll make more coal ash to wash into the water supply. By 1850, it was standard practice among dentists to apply to painful pulp a mixture of creosote, morphine, and arsenic. Of course, the morphine is what was taking the pain away, and they're saying the arsenic is what did it. But, the creosote was the vehicle used to create a thick paste, while the morphine was intended to dull the pain of the arsenic's attack on the pulp. Oh, okay, so the arsenic was attacking the pulp, which was, I don't know, they're saying, like, it's attacking the, they're saying it's attacking it's attacking the tissue to make the tissue dead. So that if the tissue's dead, then it will be permanent. That the tissue won't be able to feel pain because the tissue got killed by the arsenic. Of course, it's gonna make your teeth fall out. It's gonna accumulate in your teeth, and then it's gonna bleed into your body for the rest of your life. But what this is part of? This is part of a book. This is on Google Books. And the Arsenic Century, how Victorian Britain was poisoned at home, work, and play. A whole century of arsenic poisoning. And they did this using the medical establishment. They used, these people that they called doctors. We're gonna school up some people on how to sell toxins, and we're gonna call them doctors. We're gonna give them big salaries. We're gonna make them the envy of the whole nation, and then we're gonna get them out here peddling toxicity. That they confuse how to heal yourself. From all the toxins that we're going to spread it by construction materials home, and making the construction materials at work. And you know what, I don't know if they covered in this article like all the arsenic that was being used in I didn't read the whole book, but all the arsenic poisoning of like water and food. But like the very first colony to America, Jamestown, it was killed by arsenic poisoning. There was amongst the colonists, there was apparently some treacherous what would the person be called, a saboteur. There was a corporate saboteur amongst the first colonists to America that the colony was then forgotten by history. They wrote the colony right out of history until a few, or what was it, like even in schools just like recently they're teaching like the first colony is the Pilgrims, but it's not. Jamestown was the first colony, but it was all killed. They were all murdered by a saboteur, a corporate saboteur, that was amongst them. Arsenic poisoned. Arr. Yeah, I don't know, but they're saying in this book that, the Victorian era in Britain, a whole century, they were, the doctors were poisoning people with arsenic. Moving on, we're gonna go to the arsenic, that was the Arsenic Century, and they go beyond saying like just how the doctors were poisoning. They're saying like how every arsenic was extended into like every aspect of life, that at work, at play, at home, in every aspect of life, the people who were the establishment had caused people to use arsenic, that they were highly arsenic toxified. Okay, so then arsenic in apple juice is not a bigger problem. This is disinformation. They're trying to say like sugar is the bigger problem. Sugar is the bigger problem, but why is sugar so big a problem is because it's arsenic tainted. Arsenic in apple juice is not the bigger problem. Sugar is. So they're saying like, oh, well, the arsenic isn't so bad. It's the sugar. But, why is the sugar so bad? Because it's tainted with arsenic. And then, I don't know, here it is. February. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, what is it? 2 months ago. High arsenic levels found in organic foods baby formula. Yeah, this is the article that was like, it's way up there in this coal ash research, but when I read this, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta do this video today. This video must be done today, or today health. High arsenic levels found in organic foods. Baby formula. Yeah, that was like, I don't know, the article's closer. This is this Today article. Article's close to the top, or the articles that I read first. And Yeah, so there's like, as soon as I read that, I was like, cause I was mulling it. I was like, I got to do an article about all this arsenic and everything because this is just ridiculous. That what drove me. It was yesterday. I was down doing my laundry and I bought one little chocolate candy so that I could get $5 cash back to get quarters to do my laundry with, and down at the hardware store, and I ate the chocolate and I got the arsenic pain in my tooth, and I was like, God damn, there's such a ridiculously high dose of arsenic and everything, that it's like immediate onset of pain. That's a dosage of arsenic that it's short-term deadly, that you will die in in a year or two if you eat arsenic that puts you in pain as soon as you eat it, that you will die soon. You won't you certainly won't be able to detoxify all that, chelate it, unless you do some type of aggressive chelation treatment, which is that's what I'm going to do in a couple minutes. Is I'm going to go grind up some charcoal, some activated charcoal. I'm going to mix it in some water. I'm going to drink it down. Anyhow, high arsenic levels found in organic foods and baby formula, and they're saying cereal bars, they're saying so now it's in even stuff that there's no high fructose corn syrup in, because they were saying some years ago that like the high fructose corn syrup, it was so toxified by the coal ash that it had like detectable doses or levels of mercury in it, high fructose corn syrup. I haven't read that high fructose corn syrup. You know what, I'll do that search right now. High fructose corn syrup arsenic, because I know that there's arsenic in it, because if there's mercury in it from the coal ash, then of course there's arsenic in it from the coal ash. And yeah, it's all coming out piecemeal, that they're revealing more and more. But, so that they can label their products as not being high fructose corn syrup, because people recognize that the high fructose corn syrup was tainted, started adding this other stuff. Brown rice sugar. Organic foods can be loaded with arsenic. February 16th, 2012. Discovery.com. News.discovery.com. Higher concentrations than those without the syrup. Okay. As people seek healthier dietary regimens, they often turn to things labeled organic. Lurking in the background, however, is an ingredient that may be a hidden source of arsenic, an element known to both toxic and potentially carcinogenic. Organic brown rice syrup has become a preferred alternative to using high fructose corn syrup as a sweetener in food. High fructose corn syrup has been criticized as a highly processed substance that is more harmful than sugar and is a substantial contributor to epidemic obesity. Unfortunately, organic brown rice syrup is not without its faults. Dartmouth researchers and others have previously attention to the potential for consuming harmful levels of arsenic via rice, and organic brown syrup may be the latest culprit on the scene. The rice isn't as bad, once again, because it's bound up. The arsenic in it is bound up in the fiber of the rice, so a lot of it's going to just be pooed right out. But when they process it, when they boil the sugar out of it, that they're not extra, they're not like using a centrifuge to get the arsenic out. They're leaving the arsenic in the sugar of it. And then it's not bound up in the fiber of the rice. So that's why you can get away with eating some rice, but if you consume the sugar of rice, which the rice is heavily arsenic, then it'll be so much more arsenic, because they're condensing the product of it that is arsenic. So it's less fiber, it's more arsenic. With the introduction of organic brown rice syrup into food, processing even the savvy consumers. You know what, this is not saying that high fructose corn syrup contains arsenic, which is, I'm going to have to search for ancient news. Arsenic in organic food. You know what, these are all the links that I'm not looking for. 2009, arsenic, high fructose corn syrup. And then bringing me back to 2012. In this article, they say, here's another reason to avoid high fructose or crystalline fructose. Crystalline fructose, the body doesn't handle large amounts of fructose well. You can imagine life with intravenous glucose, but not with intravenous fructose. Severe derangement of liver function results. There's also evidence that a high intake of fructose elevates levels of circulating fats, increasing the risk of heart disease. So there is a new criminal in town, seems to be the next generation of high fructose corn syrup, but this guy is even more devious, placing himself in healthy drinks. I'm referring to crystalline fructose. It is produced by allowing high fructose corn syrup to crystallize. It is then dried and milled into the desired particle size for packaging. As a result, it is 100% fructose. Fructose is not the best thing for your body. Fructose exists in foods as either a monosaccharide. So crystalline fructose is the product of fructose. And I'm going to search now. Okay, here it is. Here is another reason to avoid crystalline fructose, arsenic. Yes, the processing of this molecule allows the acceptable levels of arsenic, heavy metals, lead, and chloride. Again, these are toxic chemicals that your body is unable to process. The impact of your health is immeasurable. While a simple serving of the drink might not be bad, over time the buildup of any of these compounds can lead to death. So not only high fructose corn syrup, but now fructose have arsenic in it. And obviously high fructose corn syrup has arsenic in it because high fructose corn syrup is nothing but dried to crystal high fructose corn syrup. So fructose obviously has arsenic in it because it's nothing but high fructose corn syrup dried. So there you go. Arsenic has high fructose, or high fructose corn syrup has arsenic in it. And I'm not able to find one article. There's not been any scientific documentation. There's not been, one doctor come out to say that there's arsenic in high fructose corn syrup. Because if they say, years back they were saying there's mercury in high fructose corn syrup, but, they just kind of disappeared that information. If you eat anything with high fructose corn syrup in it, you'll get immediate tooth pain. If you eat anything with fructose in it, you'll get immediate tooth pain. If you eat, that's apparently why, or, how it is that the price of food is staying so low, is because they can't sell this shit. Over the past few years, the number one, the most popular snack food in America became fruit, fresh fruit. Apparently because all of this food was making people's teeth hurt so bad that they decided to just drop all this food out of their diet, and that's why all their food is so frickin' cheap in the grocery store. But now fruits and vegetables, the price is going through the roof. You're gonna pay $5 for a box of spinach, and for a bag of $5 for a bag of oranges and all this nonsense. But $8 I think it was for a bag of $14 for a tub of peanut butter. Come on, ridiculous. But yeah, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at they're poisoning everything to the degree that people are, keenly aware that, you can't eat just one of these without figuring out that you're being assaulted with arsenic, that they're trying to murder you with arsenic. So, you eat one and you're like, God damn, that put my teeth in pain. The only way that you're not, you might be unaware is you're feeding your children something. You're feeding it to your children that, they don't even know how to talk yet. Maybe they're like, 2 or 3 years old. Maybe they're a fussy kid anyhow, and so like when they're like, meh, meh, you don't know like why it is that they're it's because you just fed them something with arsenic in it, that they're complaining about the arsenic. Yeah, I don't know. I gotta eat some food, so you know what? There's a couple more articles in this research product or project. Yeah, let me see what these are real quick. Beneficial use of coal ash in question as EPA mulls regulation. I'm not sure. Did I already cover that? I got a link for US EPA. Let me go here real quick. EPA promoted the use of coal ash with incomplete risk information. They promoted the use of coal ash. This is right on EPA.gov. That without being able to say that coal ash is definitely okay to spread on farm fields, this is what the fucking EPA did. They spread coal ash in the fucking farm fields. Or they at least approved it so that, some bunch of, criminal crony mass murderer depopulation Rothschild whores, that they were able to spread, this toxic nonsense on the farm field, so all the food is deadly. But yeah, it's right here on EPA.gov. They're like, okay, yeah, well, we did this without really going over, what the, and that, to my understanding, they haven't even stopped the practice, and, they're just like, oh, we might stop this eventually, because people, they're getting smart to this, they're catching on to the fact that we're mass murdering them. So, maybe we'll stop doing it. But it's too late. It's all already out there. To detoxify the fields, now we gotta go out there and churn up the soil to some fucking ridiculous degree. That you gotta go out there and you gotta mix, you gotta chelate your soil basically. You gotta put some, you gotta put sulfur and, you can ash. You can activate a carbon. Spread through your farm field. You gotta water it down with filtered water and all this. But who's gonna do that? Who's gonna wash their farm field? And then nobody's gonna wash their farm fields. They plus they're murderous agents to begin with. They're they're trying to earn their dysentery death. They're trying to earn shitting themselves to death by mass murdering enough people, and so they're agreed to this. That they're gonna go along with what's gonna make them stop. After they get this mass murderous, then they get so scared. They know that they're dead. They know that there's nothing that they can possibly do that's gonna save them in the eyes of society. That people, when they realize what these people have done, they're gonna want these people dead. And that they tried to mass murder 300 million people just in America. And they export this food to the world. They're trying to murder 90% of the human population worldwide, 90% of 6 billion people. And people, they're not going to let these people live, once they find out. And so they're dead to society, so they're everybody is the mass murderers. The mass murderers, who are billionaires, and they're all cronies of the emperor, who is a top dominant mass murderer, who's going to use all of them to murder each other off eventually. How that looks is like Katyn Forest Massacre. That, they have the bureaucrats of one nation firebomb the other nation, or that's like the firebombing of Berlin. But in the Katyn Forest massacre, they didn't even want to kill the local peasantry. Apparently, they liked they liked the peasants well enough that they didn't want to kill them or something. Maybe they were some useful slaves. So what they did is they sent the bureaucrats to put the bureaucrats of Russia, the military of Russia. They went into Poland, while the Poland prime minister, president dude was on vacation in London, and they rounded up all the bureaucrats, from like, the mayors and the governors and the police chiefs and everybody, all the bureaucrats of Poland. And they put them in handcuffs, they put them in jail cells, and then they walked into the jail cells. They instructed them to get on their knees, and then they shot them once in the back of the head. And then, that was it. They murdered the whole bureaucracy like that.